Howdy, and welcome back to the Ineligibles podcast. My name is Will Stone, at Will Stone CFB on Twitter. Follow us, subscribe to us, the Ineligibles podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that good stuff. Folks, we have a football game to talk about today. How many times have we seen A&M be in a game like this, come down to the wire, and, just miss it? You come up just short. I think of 2018 Clemson, 2022 Alabama. There's countless others, and I think for what this one means uh, to break through against a top 10 team on the road early in the year to get to 3-0, everything in front of you. The way the schedule sets up, this is big time. It's just one game, and like Mike Elko said, uh, it means a lot, but it also only means that it's our third win, and we got a lot more to do to get to where we want to go. So, um, uh, glad to break the curse of games that I attend on the road going poorly. I've been to three straight clunkers, three of the worst games I've ever seen with my eyes. In 2021 Colorado, 2022 Auburn, and 2023 Tennessee. This was the first true road game that Brittany and I have been to that we've actually won. And to be there in that stadium, in that environment, night game, the weather was fantastic. Great people, great tailgating, incredible opponent. Just all in all, just a tremendous experience. You win it, on the last play of the game, and I think big picture, I think we all kind of felt a couple things. I think this is the first A&M team in a while to where we don't really stress about the offense. I think, through three games, I think we kind of understand, hey, they're probably going to score some points. They're probably going to figure something out. More on the offense later and where they can go from here. But I think once they missed that extra point, every A&M fan every A&M fan felt, oh, like we're going to win this now. Like that was just the game right there. And even the kick return getting called back, we're all like, good. That lets us work more clock off the, more time off the clock. And if they gotten the ball back, they could have run it out, and gotten down field goal range and kicked a walk-off field goal. That's not how it worked out. So uh, I I would bet money that Terry Bussey will return a kick for a touchdown at some point this season. He's just too good at it. He's had several really nice returns. Obviously, that one went for a touchdown. Even without the holding, he probably would have scored. But he's going to get one, and he's going to be a weapon in the return game and on offense. Um, but yeah, like on that last drive, like you just knew they were going to pull through somehow. And I'll admit, I didn't love the play calling once we got down there. Uh, like I think after the holding penalty, it's like first and whatever, like it's first and goal at the whatever yard line. Um, I would have liked, which, I'm not sure what the time was on the clock or the timeout situation, which I thought Elko handled. He handled the game pretty well from a time and clock management perspective. But I would have liked to see maybe a couple more runs, maybe some option, maybe some screen, something besides just you know a play action or drop back pass. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, uh, you guys watched the game. Marcel Reed, Mario Craver, Nate Borkacher, um, Concepcion, Moss. I mean, it was the offensive line. Like, there's so many positives, and I think before we kind of get into breaking down this game, uh, one thing I want to say about the offense is the the explosive plays. have been the difference. That much is obvious, right? But what's scary for other teams is things, things aren't clicking on all cylinders yet. And not just the drop passes, or not drop passes, but the overthrows and some of the misfires from Reed. You know, I'm trying to stay on topic here, but Reed, I'll get to Reed in a second. But I think just on a down to down basis, staying ahead of the chains, we didn't do a great job of that. Like we were typically, pretty, there are several, third and longs in there that we converted. And then, obviously just the huge chunk plays, the 86 yarder, the couple of 30 plus yarders by Craver, huge catches from Casey, some big Marcel runs, Le'Veon punching it in, in the at the goal line, I think three times in the game. So, but I think there's still, we left a lot of meat on the bone, and as Reed improves, now let's talk about Reed for a second. This is our guy now. For as long as he wants to play college football, this is our quarterback. When you with this game under his belt to lead that go ahead game winning drive, I'm sure you've heard it elsewhere, you've seen it elsewhere. Three of the last four games against Power Five opponents, he has led a go ahead drive late in the fourth quarter. And in two of those games last year, Auburn and USC, the defense let him down. This time, there was like 13 seconds left, so there wasn't any letting down to happen. So, but I think, there's so much intangibles. And I'm going to get to this later in the show, but all off season, and I brought this up in August, all off season long, all you heard about was DJ Lagway, Lenoris Sellers, Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeyer, over and over and over. Oh my gosh, Lagway, Sellers, Arch, Nuss, Arch, Lagway, Sellers. No one talked about Reed because they knock him for not having the NFL size, or oh, he's just a runner, oh, he can't pass. Nobody watched the games that he actually started down the stretch last year, where he threw the ball quite well, and with no running game and a crumbling defense, kept us in a lot of games. And now you look up, and he's starting to generate some Heisman buzz. He has more touchdowns than I think three or four of those guys combined that I just named. And with him, and I think there's a lot for him to clean up mechanically with his footwork. Guys, if he starts figuring out these deep passes, when they start hitting those, it's going to be frightening for what this offense can do, because there were several that obviously the one to KC could have been a 99-yard touchdown pass. Like it was he absolutely cooked Christian Gray on that play. Nyblack, there were several. There was a couple to KC, one to Nyblack, and even some more like intermediate throws to where his footwork wasn't the best. Things weren't synced up. I'd recommend go watch Aaron Murray, who I'm not a huge fan of with some of his antics, but Aaron Murray has a good breakdown on Marcel. And obviously the film guy. If you're not watching the film guy every week, just for not even just A&M, but like other teams, it's you learn so much, and he does a great job of breaking down the actual film. And his one on Marcel this week and Colin Klein was exceptional. So definitely go check that out on the film guy YouTube channel. But what those guys are saying, like there's some some footwork things to where it's not always like all synced up, but like arm strength wise, like that's not a problem with Marcel. I mean, obviously he's overthrowing guys on long, long on on long, on long throws. And I think an underrated thing here, and you've no one's really talked about it openly. I've heard, Billy on Texags mentioned it a couple times, but Marcel was banged up. That it's I think it was his non-throwing shoulder or whatever, and I don't know what the injury is, but probably was in some pain on Saturday night. Obviously, he took a big hit that led to a targeting penalty late in the game. So, not to excuse what he like the performance, but there's probably some. It's good for him to get a week off here this on this bye week to get some rest, get healthy. 'Cause there's a big 5 game stretch coming up that's going to be you know critical to how this season plays out. But tip of the cap. I mean, if I didn't say it already, Marcel, he's just got the it factor. Whatever the it factor is, Marcel's got it. When the game is on the line, he's a guy that you have to trust now. Like he's been in the fire. I remember watching, against South Carolina last year when we get down. We're down 14 nothing before we can blink, 17 nothing I think before we can blink, and that it's a night game in Columbia. That crowd's going nuts, and I'm like, this guy is a redshirt freshman. He started 5 games, 6 games, and I remember thinking, even if we don't win this game, that him going through that and getting that experience is so important. I think fans are so quick to give up on a guy if he doesn't just come out of the gate right away, just racking up SEC road wins and just dominating, and that's unreasonable to expect, especially last year in the first year of a coach. Obviously, some big injuries on the offensive line and at running back. But now he's been through that. He's been through Auburn on the road, where we were down 21 nothing before we could blink, and then we come storming back, retake the lead on a great drive orchestrated by Marcel, and then the defense, can't hold up their end. That's so important going forward. And for this year, for next year, like this year, there's some tough teams on the road, and we'll get to that. But I think the he may be, he may not be a big time NFL prospect one day, but I think what he is and will be is a damn good college quarterback. And I think the team, it's obvious to me that the team plays hard for him. You hear, in the locker room, you hear Marcel Reed chants after that game is over. And they're behind him. The coaches are behind him. Obviously, this fan base is now behind him after a game like that. So, just a huge tip of the cap. Now, not one of the stranger stat lines you'll see from a quarterback, 17 for 37. Watching the game, like whenever I got on the bus after the game to go back to Chicago, the guy next to me said, he's like, "Oh, he only completed 48% of his passes." I was like, "Really?" It seemed like a lot more than that. But yeah, 17 for 38, 48 point something percent. Not great. You can't do that every game, but I think it was like 20 yards per completion, or I think it was over 20 yards per completion, which is just insane. So I think we definitely need to be he needs to be better at and through the first 2 games, I think his adjusted completion percentage was over 70%. So that's kind of where he needs to be. I think he can get there and stay there going forward. What I will say about I know I think Notre Dame fans are being really tough on Chris Ash and on the defense, and that's understandable. Like they were so dominant last year. They brought back a lot of the same pieces, and they're like, how did we just give up 41 points to A&M and, a billion yards through the air when they have, and I'll still say this, they have the best cornerback duo in the country. I mean, bar none. Especially Leonard Moore. Like that dude is a lock first rounder. I don't know if we completed a pass on him all day. It took them a while for them to put him on at least one of Mario or Casey, because he was not he was on Bethel Roman most of the first half, I thought. But and then Christian Gray, for as bad as I thought KC really got the best of him and could have could have made it look really ugly for him if we had hit some of those deeper throws. But that's a really good corner. That's a that's an NFL draft pick, probably day two pick at corner. And the safety Schuler is a damn good player too. Now the other safety and the nickel, yeah, those guys aren't up to snuff with what they had last year. The linebackers are probably some of the best that you'll see all year. Drake Bowen, hell of a game, hell of a player. KVA number 27, he's a beast. They like they were really aggressive, and I think I definitely need to make this point that I was so perplexed watching them play against Miami, and they were so vanilla. They weren't attacking anything. They were on both sides, and you know I think there probably was something to. I've seen their guys bring it up, but there was probably something to the heat and the humidity, and their guys were cramping up. They were gassed. It was really taking a toll on them. But the team you saw this past weekend and the team against Miami are two different teams. The one that played against A&M is who Notre Dame is, and I think they're likely to go, you know, 10 straight wins to close out the year, in my opinion. Between them and USC should be a pretty good game, but that's a good football team and super super talented. The defensive line is probably where they're the weakest. I thought our offensive line really got the better of them. I mean, especially our interior just dominated their tackles, which I thought they would. They're the guys they had last year were all Americans, and these guys have been around for a while, but they're just not very big. They're not super athletic. Basantis, Naboo, Coley, Armaje, like those guys just kick total ass all night, especially in pass pro. And yeah, so I think it's probably not their best game. It wasn't. It was far from our best game. I mean, 13 penalties. You start the game down seven thanks to a block punt, and that happens. That happened in the end zone I'm standing in, like up in the. We're on the very very last row. Like we could look over the stadium, if you climb up there. But that happens right in front of us, and we're just like, well, fuck. I mean, and it's. I'm thinking, man, like if it wasn't going to be hard enough already, that just made it 10 times harder um, to beat a team on the road. Like we needed to play our A game, and we didn't, and we still won. I think that's encouraging, but uh, we can't replicate that effort in any of the coming games and expect to win. I think special teams, obviously, the blocked punt, the like they downed a punt at the 1 yard line. We couldn't get out of our own end zone. They returned that punt, the ensuing punt, to like the 30 yard line. They score quickly. Um, you know, I know they dropped the extra point, but like from a special teams perspective, they won that pretty decisively. Um, the penalties have got to get cleaned up, especially the false starts. Like you can't be putting yourself first and 15 over and over and over. That happened way too often. It wasn't even that loud. I know their fans were like, "Oh, this is like look, like I've been a lot of places, and it was a good environment. It was really good, but the noise was not that big of a factor. It just wasn't. So that cannot keep happening. I know Marcel and Elko and several of the guys mentioned post game that I think they said clapping. I didn't see clapping on that final drive, um, but you can see our guys on those back to back false starts, like on the very very last drive. Um, all of our O line is losing their minds and like pointing at them and being like, "Hey, like, you know, they're simulating the snap count somehow." And that should be a penalty on the defense. It's been called on A&M before back 3 years ago. So But anyway, I thought the holding on the very first drive was BS. I'm sure that's rich coming from an A&M fan. The holding on the final play is caused a lot of uproar. Look, man, it's football. There's 180 plays in a game, and you had 179 other ones to play better and to beat us, and you didn't. So, sorry, I do not have any sympathy for a missed call. Being an A&M fan, so where things can get better. So I think what Notre Dame's game plan was, at least to start the game, was we're going to really stack the box. We trust our two corners. They're gonna shut down these A&M receivers, and we're gonna keep them from running on us, and we're gonna keep a spy on Marcel to keep him from gashing us on the ground. And then we scored 28 points through mostly, most of the yardage through the air, and 3 touchdowns were Le'Veon punching it in. But I'm curious to see how Auburn and Florida and LSU and Arkansas and every team going forward, like what do they come out trying to stop? Are you gonna this is a very threatening offense. You have a dual threat quarterback. You've got speed at receiver. You have a really really good offensive line. You have 4 great backs. You have 4 tight ends who all play. And Colin Klein needs to get his recognition. Like he called an absolute whale of a football game. Was in his bag. I mean the wishbone looking formation with the the 2 running backs like lined up outside the tackles on each side. Like he was just dialing it up all night, and it was impressive, and it's what we thought we'd be getting. I remember when we hired him, we were all really excited about him. Like he was, you know, they were super efficient at Kansas State. They were very good in the red zone and inside the opponent's 40, but they weren't that explosive. Can he ever have a truly explosive offense? I think we can say yes. I think he didn't have these kind of receivers and weapons at Kansas State when he was there. Now he does. Now you see it against a really really good Notre Dame defense, just lighting them up. And like we said, I mean, if you hit 2 or 3 more passes in deep shots, we're talking about 600 yards of offense and probably 500 passing from Marcel, and he's probably leading the Heisman race if he had done that. So, but I mean, it's. I think offensively, obviously, you have to be excited about where things are headed and where things can go. Um, so I've been missing chats. Um, but yeah, so offensively, you got to be excited about where it can go. When when they start being more consistent, down to down, I think it's gonna be frightening, and I think teams are gonna struggle picking what they want to stop because A&M can beat you in several different ways. Um, and yeah, I mean it's obviously the bright spot of this team going forward. And schedule wise, you know, I think defense wise, I think Texas, LSU have really good defenses. Um, Florida's got a good defense, but the rest are kind of not great. I think Arkansas, Missouri, we'll see how Auburn holds up against Oklahoma this weekend. Um, but yeah, I think this offense can score anybody on this schedule. So um, defense, um, I think it's after rewatching it, I don't feel as bad as I did when I was at the game because I mean, um, a couple things here. We played a lot of zone, especially on third down, and I was, especially on that last drive when we've got them third and long, like we can, hey, tie game, we can force a punt. we can go down, kick the game-winning field goal, or whatever else. Um, and and you play zone, and and CJ Carr was great in this game. I think he's got a super bright future. And I think the plan was, hey, like we're gonna make you try to beat us, throwing the ball to your receivers, not your backs, and see if you can do it, which he almost did. I mean, there was a couple third down conversions uh, to Faison and to the tight end and to Malachi Fields, and most of that came in zone. I think in man, we can man up against pretty much anybody on our schedule and have success. The zone needs a little bit of work, and I think part of that was just because we knew the most dangerous players on their team were the running backs. We will not see anyone like that the rest of the year because they don't play in college football because those two are two of the very, very best. They're big, they're fast, they can run it, they can catch it, they can pass block, just the whole package. But we on the ground we did a good job of limiting them for the most part. Like obviously they had some big runs, but I think some of the biggest ones were we have Jeremiah Love out of the backfield. No, like, there's nobody on him. Wide open touchdown. That's something that you can't have. Kind of like a outside zone run with Love again. Dalton Brooks takes a poor angle, misses the tackle. He trots in for a touchdown. The trick play to the tight end, I think on the first or second drive, which speaking of him, number 9 Raritan, he dropped every freaking pass against Miami, and he made stupid catches against us. And, that's frustrating. He led them in receiving with 85 yards, but yeah, I think honestly, I think the defensive line is playing pretty well, especially the inside guys. This is the best game I've seen from David Hicks in an A&M uniform. Go back to my show with Robert on week 1, and Hicks was my X factor on defense. I'm like, man, if you get the best version of him, the 5-star version of him, then that really changes the equation for this defense. And I think he's showing up. I think you have 3 guys there that can really, really play. I thought TJ Searcy played well. I thought Cassius did some nice things. And how about Damian Sanford, coming in, with Scooby going down. Got a sack on CJ Carr, had the tackle on the 4th down that forced a turnover on downs. He looked way more confident, and he played a lot better in this game than he played all of last year. And yeah, so we got some questions from JT in the comments. One is about Scooby. With Scooby's status questionable, let's talk about Sanford and Lockhart. Yeah, I mean, I think you saw a little bit of Lockhart. I thought you'd see more with York. I think York really struggled in this game. I think, and not to say he's a bad player, but I think when that's a really really good Notre Dame offensive line, and when they're able to get to the second level, he really struggles to fight off blocks from those bigger, and more athletic offensive lines. And it was a tough day for him. I don't know, looking at the rest of the schedule, I think Florida's got a good O-line. Texas is decent up front. We'll see about Missouri, but this is probably one of the better ones that we'll see. But he needs to play a lot better than he played this weekend. I thought Sanford played well. I think Sanford can play. He can play in space pretty well. I think he's a smart player. I think he can cover. Played the run a lot better and was pretty gap sound on Saturday. So sounds like we might need him. I mean, and Elko, he spoke to the media today. They're still doing some tests on Scooby, so I don't want to speculate there, but that could be, significant if you can't get him back. But if you can't, then yeah, it's going to be, I think Lockhart is really coming on. I think Sanford is probably you know, he's probably going to start at will with for as long as Scooby's out for. I'd like to see more Noah McHale, the true freshman. I think he has a super high ceiling, and I'd love to get him some game reps in SEC play. And I think Dalton Brooks. I think Brooks, you know, on PFF he led the team in missed tackles with five. I don't think he had five. That's probably being. I think they may have miscounted on some of those, but because he made some really nice plays, but you know I think he was banged up in camp a little bit. Didn't play in the first game. And these backs are hard assignments, man. But he needs to play a lot better. He made some very nice plays, but he's got to be more consistent. In on every down and playing well, taking good angles, wrapping up. You can't tackle Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price up high. So, but I mean, I think our cover guys. I think Chappelle played a good game. I think Ricks played an awesome game. Ricks is probably going to be all SEC at the end of the year, if I had to guess. I thought Will Lee was had some really bright moments and some tough moments as well. Not bad. I'd say it was overall a pretty good game from him, but obviously the breakup on the goal line in the first half was huge to force a field goal. But I think the pieces are there to get things going. And I think to kind of go back to my point earlier, I think the plan was to play zone and keep guys close to the line of scrimmage to deal with those running backs, and to have someone in the flat, if they go out on a route, or to have someone kind of closer to the line of scrimmage to play run support against those guys. I don't think anyone else on the schedule. I mean, maybe Missouri with Hardy. Arkansas's got some good backs, but I think we can play a little more, a little more straight up, and maybe different game plans against the rest of the teams on the schedule, because those guys are just built different. But I think either way, we need to get better on defense. We need to, and it's like so much was said about the defensive tackles coming in. They're playing the best out of anybody right now. They're kicking ass up front. I think going forward, I want to see more Ryland Kennedy. I want to see more Marco Jones. I want to see Dalton Brooks get better. I want to see Damian Sanford keep progressing. I want to see York get better. So, really anxious to see how Auburn does against OU. OU's got a great defense this year. I'm really curious to see how they play Auburn, how that game goes. But yeah, to get back to, to some of JT's questions, can I get a 3-0? Hell yeah, man. I mean, it feels good, like especially in a 12-team playoff. Teams like Indiana are playing nobody in the non-conference. Ole Miss, they're playing nobody in the non-conference. It feels good to, I don't want to say get stuck with this game. Like, apparently non-conference doesn't matter, and you get stuck with the team that played for the title last year. On the road, yeah, that's tough. But guess what? You won it. Now you have a great win on your resume. And yeah, it's a good, it's a good ace in the hole to have, going forward and when playoff time comes. Explosive run game. I do think there were times where, Moss, after, being hurt and only having, 13 carries in the first two games. He had 20 the other night. I think his vision could have been better. I think he could have gotten some bigger runs. But I think, that was kind of their plan was to limit that and limit Marcel's running. They're like, hey, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be throwing the ball and throwing from the pocket, which we did. We did beat them that way. So they got to just tip their cap at that point. But I think as teams start to back off, it could open things up because the blocking is there. I think up front we can mash some teams and open some holes for those backs. But yeah, I think it's game by game. Like how are they going to play us? Like what are they going to do? Like what part are they going to try to stop on this offense? And Colin Klein has shown he can scheme something up to put points on the board. Possibility of 2,000-yard receivers. How crazy is that? We haven't had one in almost 10 years. And hell, Mario's almost halfway there. Mario Craver leads the country in receiving yards with, over 400 over 400 yards. Each game this season, he's gone over 100. Just incredible stuff from him so far. And to not have, you know, not just him, but to also have, KC, who's just, you know, a burner and makes insane grabs, can elevate and make sick catches. Great speed, great route running. I mean, guys, he really cooked Christian Gray the whole game. Like that's going to be on his tape when he declares for the NFL in January. That's going to be the game that people point to and say, hey, like if you want to scout him, you go watch that game because he was tearing it up. But I don't want to say it's not possible. I mean, I suppose it is possible. And these are two guys that could do that. But I feel pretty good about Mario getting there. I mean, Mario's got to get 600 yards over 9 games. I'm pretty sure he can do that. If Marcel can get the deep ball going, then yeah, I think it's on the table. But honestly, just I think one thing I'll say about Craver, and people talk about Heisman and Reed, and like not to say that I think Reed needs to keep improving to get to that kind of goal. But Mario Craver is squarely in the mix for the Blitnikoff. Squarely in the mix. I don't know. Even Mike Evans didn't win it. Brandon Cooks won it in 2013. So I don't know that we've ever had a Blitnikoff winner. I'm pretty sure we haven't. Maybe back when they threw 10 passes a game, maybe we did. But if we have, it's been a long time. So that'd be special if he can bring that one home. Um, let's see here. I'm gonna take a quick break. Full disclosure, I've been sick for 2 days. I really had to push through to sit down and record tonight, but we're gonna get it done. So give me a couple minutes, and we'll get back to it. In in closing, um, this is a great win. I think everyone saw the the stats. It's been since 2014 since we beat a ranked team on the road. Um, it's been since '79 since we beat a out of conference ranked team in a true road game. Um, Ranked or top 10? I think ranked. Maybe it was top 10. Which, by the way, only 3 games in that time span even fit that criteria. There's not very many, but still, to I think the national media that always, they always want to buy in on A&M, and we can't blame the media for not wanting to pick us because they want to, but we've let them down. You guys know this. We've been let down how many times? And there's a long way to go. Like, we were sitting here after the LSU game, being like, "Man, we're going to the playoffs. We're doing this. We're doing that." And you go 8-5. So we're not counting our chickens, but this is a game that you really needed to win to get people back on your side. And now this opens up so many things. I mean, just to kind of go through the schedule really quick and just my kind of quick thoughts on things. Um, I think Auburn is the most interesting for me right now because, I mean, obviously it's the next one. I want to see them this weekend and see how they look. I think Oklahoma should handle them, to be quite honest. Um, but I want to see them play somebody not named Baylor or Ball State and see how they look. Especially on their offense. Um, I think getting these three at home. I wish they weren't in a row, but Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida. Florida, like, I don't think Florida's quit yet. Like, they had every chance to beat LSU in Baton Rouge in a Baton Rouge night game, and if DJ throws four picks instead of five, then maybe they can do it. But um, I think you know they're still competing right now. They still got Miami this weekend. They have Texas before they play us. Um, God knows how that's going to go. Um, Mississippi State's better. Arkansas, I think, better on offense. I think they're much worse on defense. I think watching that game, like, sometimes you can watch the box score, and maybe you saw our box score or watched our game and said, "Oh, like, these defenses are horrible." 41-40 shootout, like they can't stop anybody. Um, I thought this was a highly competitive game on both sides. I think the offenses were just a little bit better. Um, Same thing with Tennessee and Georgia, but Ole Miss Arkansas, there was no defense played because neither team has one. It was just you know it was just up and down the field, on both sides all game. Um, so it's a tough game on the road, but with this offense, I don't think uh, they should be able to really contain us for a full game. LSU's interesting. Um, what's up, Samuel? Glad to have you. Um, LSU, they were hyping their defense in fall camp, and then you know their offense was really good last year, at least throwing the football. And you're like, man, if they can get the defense figured out, they may win the whole thing. Well, now the defense seems to be pretty good, and the offense is just nowhere to be found. Um, Now it's come out that Garrett Nussmeier has an injury, torso injury. I don't know what that is like to heal, mid-season. Um, but I think the offensive line has issues. They can't run the ball worth a damn. And Caden Durham's a good back, but they just can't run it for whatever reason. They're all frustrated with their offensive coordinator. I think their defense is better, but I think they play too aggressive. And I think, I'm curious to see how Klein can attack them to take advantage of those things, with some screens or quick hitters, um, that kind of thing. Missouri will know a lot more about by the time that game gets here. They play in a three-game stretch. They play Bama, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. Which, watch out for the Commodores, baby. But we'll know more about them before we play them. But they look good. I think offensively, they're a really good team. Uh, Bo Perbula is throwing the ball really well. They got some great backs. That game, if that environment was scary at all, I'd be worried about that game. But it's that should be a place where that may be another 41-40 type game. Um, South Carolina is cheeks. If Sellers is out for any extended period of time, they'll miss a bowl game. Um, Texas. Now, there's a lot I could say, and I could be a hater and really rub this in, but I don't believe my eyes when I see the clips of Arch Manning from the game against UTEP. It's so bad. 10 straight incompletions, and some are just not even close. I mean, and he's got the weird sidearm motion. You know, there's just it's jarring how bad it is, and I don't know if it gets fixed or if it's fixable. There's three scenarios here. Either one, he's hurt and he's just playing through pain. He looks bad. Two, he's actually bad. Just not a good player. Won't ever be good. That's just who he is. Or three, he has the worst case of yips that I've ever seen in my life because he just, he looks totally lost out there. And some of the throws are just shockingly bad. They have some time to kind of figure things out. They get Sam Houston this week, who's bad. Like they're not just Sam Houston, but they're also not very good for their own standards this year. And then I think they get a bye. Is that right? Sorry, I'm looking on the fly. But then they have to play Florida on the road. Um, where are we schedule? So yeah, Sam Houston by Florida on the road, and then Red River against Oklahoma, who seems to have their crap together. And you know, I don't think Texas unravels if they lose that game. Um, but then like some of the games that looked easier look a little bit tougher. I think with the exception of at Kentucky, I think Kentucky's just bad. But at Mississippi State, night game with the Cowbells, even 11 a.m. 11 a.m. over there is a nightmare for opposing teams. Just ask us. Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's for real, y'all. I'm not just doing a bit. Like they're an actual good team. Um, that's in Austin, but man, if that's a really really well coached team, a really good defense. Obviously, Pavia is a madman. At Georgia, that's probably a loss, but and then Arkansas, if Taylon Green, as much as he runs, if he stays healthy, you know that could be a tough one. Even though it's at home, but I think it's it's really dicey if they can't figure out what they're doing with Arch. And you know if he was hurt, they should just say that, but they won't do that. So nobody really knows. I don't think he is. But I really don't know. And it's as we go on throughout the season, we're going to figure some things out. And you know, yeah, we're 3 games in for most teams, so there's still a lot left on the table. SEC wise, it's gonna be a tight race, man. And even though this Notre Dame win is a big win, we still haven't played a conference game yet. We got 8 of them, so I think Georgia has with how they look right now and how their schedule sets up, they got Bama still, which I think Bama may, I don't. It's hard to tell with how bad Wisconsin is, but maybe they figured some things out. Um, which I think that game's next weekend. But uh, you know, anyone out of these teams, I think Tennessee's still in it, Georgia, Bama, Texas A&M, uh, Tennessee. I think I already said them. Um, Oklahoma, Missouri. Yeah, so not everyone can make it, and I think we're all feeling a lot better. Like, oh, like we just got to go, 6-2 in the SEC, and we're in the playoff. Well, yeah, probably so. I mean, 10-2 A&M gets in with a win over Notre Dame, but that's not a given. with road games at Arkansas, at Missouri, at LSU, at Texas, Auburn in Florida. Mississippi State is not as bad as they were last year. So it's going to be a wild ride, man. But I think uh, this team needs to keep getting better and keep improving. I think the bye week's at a perfect time. You cannot put the bye week at any better time to play a game on the road that was that physical and that intense and emotional. To get a week off, get a little bit healthier, you know, and get back in the film room and on the practice field, and iron some things out. How this team responds against Auburn will be a big test. But man, it's right in front of you. I mean, the whole world's in front of you, and like it was last year. But I think the ceiling of this team is really really high. They got to go and do it. But man, it feels good to have an offense that we can believe in for the first time in I don't know how long. And I think I trust our defensive minded head coach to figure something out on that side of the ball. And maybe it's young guys. Maybe it's Marco Jones, who we mentioned earlier. Maybe it's Rylan Kennedy. Maybe it's Noah McHale, Jordan Lockhart. I think Damian Sanford really showed some nice things, like we talked about earlier. But the safeties have to get better. I think corners, nickels, defensive line are all playing, adequate to good football. I think the backers and I think the safeties, have to improve. And there are some good quarterbacks on the schedule, some mobile quarterbacks on the schedule that we got to account for. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So, what else as we close out here? Two coaches fired on Sunday: Deshaun Foster at UCLA and then Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. If you saw either of their games this weekend, you could probably guess they were going to be fired before too long. UCLA, I mean, I think with Deshaun Foster, when like hearing him at media days last summer, I went, oh bleep 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 bleep. I would be so angry if that was my coach and he just didn't know how to talk to a crowd. And yeah, they're awful. I mean, they got dump trucked by New Mexico, 35-10. Virginia Tech, I don't know what the final was. They were down 28-0 to Old Dominion at one point. So that's rough. Those are rough spots to be in. Have y'all seen Dabo's rant this week? Had apparently his press conferences are always pretty long. This week's was 54 minutes of him just ranting and pretty much crashing out on camera. But I think they're cooked. I think Miami's good. I think I think Oregon is they're certainly a contender for the whole thing. My eyes this weekend are all on OU and Auburn, but then Texas Tech and Utah. I wish that was at night. It's at 11 a.m. on Fox, but I think whoever wins that wins the Big 12. And I think if there could be a scenario where the winner of this game goes 12-0 and the loser goes 11-1, which I guess maybe they'd rematch in the Big 12 title game. But if the Big 12 gets two in, I think it's got to be these two. I think that's the two best ones, and we'll see how it works out for them. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. But big win, huge win, but it's far from over. We got a lot more work to do, and I trust this team, this coaching staff, to get it done. So we'll be back next week. We'll be previewing Auburn and A&M. We'll see how they come out of this weekend, and yeah. So appreciate y'all's support. Hope you guys have enjoyed this week and kind of reveling in this moment for a little bit. But after this weekend, it's back to it's back to the next one. So we'll be here to break it all down for you. Appreciate your support as always, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.